Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Kyle. I talk about cameras, photography, and all that good stuff. Today I am extremely pumped about this video. You've read the title, you've seen the thumbnail. Yes, this is about the highly touted, highly reviewed Sigma 18 to 50 millimeter f2.8 for the Sony APS-C lineup of cameras, like the Sony a6000. It's very exciting to talk about this finally because I've had the lens for a couple weeks, and this is the first, I repeat, first Sigma lens that is a zoom lens ever made for the Sony crop sensor cameras. And that is a big deal. As you guys may or may not know, Sigma has made the trio lenses for the Sony a6000 series of cameras that have all been hits. The Sigma 16mm f1.4, 30mm f1.4, and 56mm f1.4. 56mm f1.4, basically the best portrait lens for crop sensor Sony cameras. 30mm has been a favorite for quite some time, and the 16mm is a lens that I have highly recommended to all of you guys, especially even for YouTube videos. I used that lens for many years until I switched to this Viltrox lens here. So yeah, I just wanted to come out and say I recommend basically any a6000 user to purchase this lens if you're in the market for something better than the kit lens, or if you want to get a zoom lens that has a nice range and a nice aperture. That's the brunt of it. If you want to jump out of the video right here, you can, but I hope you stick around. So with all of that said, me and Meg, my now wife, recently got married, and we went on our honeymoon, which we went to the Finger Lakes in upstate New York during fall or autumn, whichever way you want to say it. And I gotta say, it was awesome. It was like the tail end of fall, first week of November, and we went and we drank beer, we drove around the lakes. It was beautiful. It was magnificent. And something I wanted to do was bring my a6100, and I wanted to bring one lens to rule them all. And lo and behold, Sigma reached out to me and they offered me this lens to borrow, not, you know, have forever, but to borrow. And I was like, yes, I'm going on my honeymoon. It would be perfect. Thank you so much. So yes, Sigma lent me this lens, and I do have to send it back, but I will be purchasing one because I really enjoyed it that much, but we'll get into all the reasons why. Okay, but before we get into showing you different photos and examples and things like that, which I'm gonna show you non-edited and I'm gonna show you edited as well, and we're gonna talk about the biggest con of this lens as well, so stick around for that. But before we do that, I just wanna go over the specs really quickly because there are two, count them, two other zoom lenses for the Sony a6000, you know, lineup of cameras that have f2.8 and a zoom range, but they are very different. So let's go over that real quick, then a bunch of photos, I promise. All right, so on your screen, you're gonna see the Sony E16 to 55mm f2.8 G lens. Now, the G basically is a upper echelon brand of lenses that Sony makes, so just keep that in mind. It does have a little more bells and whistles. Then we have the Tamron 17 to 70 f2.8, and this is a little bit wider of a range and it has image stabilization. And then Sigma has the 18 to 50mm f2.8, and we'll go into what this has over the other lenses. So the Sony is the oldest out of the bunch. It's not that old. I mean, it came out in 2019, and if you guys are interested, I did do a lens review on that lens a couple of years back, so I will link it above and in the description below if you guys want to check that out. Tamron actually just came out last year, December 3rd, 2020, and then the Sigma just came out October 19th, 2021. And actually Sigma designates on their lenses what year the lens was made, so the 16, 30mm, 56mm, and now the 18 to 50mm all have a 0 and then the year on the lens, so it's a little nice touch. So as far as zoom range, the Sony is the widest at 16mm, and then the Tamron is just a little less wide at 17mm, and it also zooms in the most at 70mm, and then you have the Sigma, which has the, you know, the shallowest zoom range at 18 to 50mm. And then the Sigma has the additional L mount, or as some people say,
L mount
ability for those types of cameras. The maximum aperture for all three of these lenses is a beautiful f2.8, and the minimum aperture is the same as well, which is f22. And then minimum focusing distance, which is, you know, how close you can be to a subject and get that subject in focus. The Sigma wins that battle at 4.72 inches. The Tamron is next at 7.48, and then the Sony is well over a foot in, you know, focus department up to a subject, which is rather not good. I really like getting close to subjects, and the Sigma definitely wins that battle. Here's a couple stats on focusing. Basically, the Sony has a linear motor, whereas the Sigma and Tamron have a stepper motor. Just to put things into perspective, the Sigma lens, I feel, is probably going to be very on par with the Tamron, if not a little bit better, at least from my experience in using Tamron lenses versus Sigma lenses. And then the Sony is going to be the best in autofocus performance. But if you really had to like choose between the three based on autofocusing performance, it's really close. Like, it's really close, but the Sony is the best. Then, just my personal opinion, I would probably say the Sigma and then the Tamron, but that does not mean that the Tamron is bad. But, you know, that's just my opinion. Check out other reviews when you want to talk about autofocus with these lenses, but they are all good. Just know that. And then a big difference between these three is the weight, diameter, and length. So the Sony is the second heaviest. The Tamron comes in at the heaviest and biggest lens. And then last, but certainly not least in this case, is the Sigma lens is super small compared to its competitors at 290 grams, or, you know, just above half a pound. It is truly a great travel lens. And yeah, so that's basically it for the specs. I just wanted to show you guys, oh, actually it's not it for specs. The biggest and probably most important spec of all is price. The Sony currently, according to DP Review here, is around $1,300. The Tamron is actually, I believe it is, yes, it's around $830, and then the Sigma is $550. It is so much cheaper than these other two lenses. Now, it doesn't have image stabilization, but then again, the Sony doesn't have that either. The Sony does have some buttons on it, and like I said earlier, it's part of the G lens lineup of Sony. It's a higher quality Sony lens, so that comes with the price tag. So Sony being the most expensive, but also has button functionality. Tamron has image stabilization, and it has a, you know, more telephoto at 70 millimeters. And then you have the Sigma, which is by far the cheapest at, you know, almost $300 cheaper, and it is the lightest and smallest out of the bunch, and it is also the newest. Okay, so those specs were a little more of a mouthful than I thought they were gonna be, but it is an important part of this video because the Sigma, the Tamron, and the Sony, although a little bit different in a bunch of different ways, are relatively the same in terms of, you know, minimum and maximum aperture, and just like their overall goal is that they are a zoom lens with a decently fast aperture for the Sony crop sensor market. One of the main reasons I still haven't purchased a full frame camera myself, my wife Meg has a Canon RP, and it is incredible. I love that camera, but the main reason I'm kind of sticking with APS-C for the time being is just the size and weight of the cameras and the lenses. It's just so great to be able to travel, or even just go to a coffee shop, or, you know, a day out and about, and take photos and not, you know, being weighed down by all of this gear. Then add on to the fact, like an example with the honeymoon, and wanting just kind of one lens. Like, I didn't want a bag of lenses. I didn't even want to take 3 lenses and be switching them and things like that. I wanted to be in the moment. I wanted to be enjoying our honeymoon, but also taking some photos and things like that. And the Sigma 18 to 50 millimeter was perfect. It was perfect for that. I don't need to switch lenses. I could shoot landscapes if I want to at 18 millimeters, or I can zoom in for a different perspective at 50 millimeters. And it's a Sigma lens. Everybody knows that Sigma lenses have great color rendition. They have incredible sharpness. And their other lenses have great low light at f1.4. And although this lens isn't f1.4, it's an f2.8. So it's not a variable aperture zoom lens. You can do f2.8 at any focal range, and that's really valuable when you just have one lens. And the price, the Sigma 18-50 is $550. I just think it's a great starting price. I think Sigma has knocked this out of the park. I love it. The value that you get for the image quality that you get, f2.8. I really think this lens would have been a hard sell if it wasn't a constant aperture. So thank you, Sigma, for that. And I hope you guys see through the different photo examples in this video just really how versatile a lens this can be. At 18 millimeters, you can shoot, you know, wide landscapes, lakes, mountains, oceans, whatever you want to shoot. And then you can zoom in a little bit. You can do some portraits. Obviously, I did a ton of those of my beautiful wife on our honeymoon. And I think it really excels as like a street photography lens because it has that nice zoom range, 18 to 50. You can go to 35, 24, whatever you want to do, and you can obviously keep it at f2.8 if you want to, or you could stop it down, but it just really gives you a ton of options. And for somebody that's used primes so much, and I've made tons and tons of videos on prime lenses, even a lot of manual prime lenses, I feel like it is refreshing to use a zoom lens and use a zoom lens that has a faster aperture, and it's just so well made and just well done. So let's get into the really only con. I feel like this is, you know, this is my review, this is my personal opinion. I feel like one of the only cons with this lens is the lens barrel distortion. When you're at 18 millimeters wide, so the widest this lens can go, you're going to have that barreled curve around the corners of your photo. This is definitely something to look out for, but at the same time, this is something that you can actually correct in camera. And I'm gonna show you guys real quick on the Sony a6100 how to correct the distortion at 18 millimeters. All right, so on the a6100, you're gonna hit menu, you're gonna go to tab 1, and then go to page 2. And then at the bottom of page 2, you're gonna go to lens comp. And then you're going to go to the setting distortion comp, and you're going to make sure that is on, or I believe it's auto. So real quick, I'm going to put on the screen a picture that I took the other day. You'll see my desk before distortion comp is on. So this is the before, and then this is after. So now it is corrected, or as best as it can be corrected in camera. Of course, you can mess with it in Lightroom if you want. You don't even have to have this setting on your camera and turn it on. You can do it after the fact. But I feel like a couple people have brought this up when doing a lens review on this, and it's important because obviously your image is curved and disfigured in a certain way when you're at the widest. Other than that, I really have no complaints about this lens. But all right, I think that about wraps up my feelings on this lens. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I hope you enjoyed some of the photo examples and the edited examples, because I'm really proud of some of the images that I took. And yeah, it's super fun. If you guys are interested in purchasing this lens, I will have affiliate links down in the description for both the L mount and the Sony E mount. So if you go through those, awesome. If not, get the lens where it's cheapest for you. I always say that. Find the gear where you guys can find it for the least amount of money. But that's gonna wrap it up for this review on the Sigma 18 to 50 millimeter f2.8 lens. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you all so much for your support, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Later.